I just noticed the music stopped.
Are we all muted? Are we unmuted?
You're unmuted. Am I unmuted?
Okay. No, you're good. Where's the host with the most? Where's the ghost?
He's a ghost. It's the whole nature of being a ghost. He ghosted us.
So you couldn't even
Oh,
hear the
there.
song. You couldn't hear nothing. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the
Oh,
Ignorance is No Excuse podcast.
You're
heavy
echoing.
on the
And I'm
ignorance.
going to fix that friggin' echo in a minute because I am in the fucking weeds right now. I totally fucked up and I'm going to fix it. Excuse me. I'll be right back.
Oh my God.
Well, A plus minus you're not blaming it on anything particularly.
No, I am blaming.
I'm blaming the mayor.
I got logged off of StreamYard. And now I'm back on. And our guest is just in time. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for saving us. Tony, where's Tony? There he is.
Tony.
Save us, Tony. Thank you. Save us.
Hi, Tony.
No.
Hey, Sue.
Welcome.
Howdy.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'm honored to be here.
Are you sure?
I watched a few of your podcasts.
Sure.
Uh,
You don't even
the one
know.
with Mark and then Jim and Lefty Grimes was at maybe the Capitol. They had Rattoria up there.
Yeah, well,
Rat tour.
yeah, people around Senator Scutari would prefer him be called Rattori rather than Senate President Rattari.
Rattoria.
Scrutari.
I listened to it.
That's a pretty good size. You know, it doesn't sound 10-foot blow up rat. But man, that thing is like, and he's really popular in Trenton amongst the passerbys. Strangely enough, not so with a lot of advocates though. Some people feel it's going too far that he might get pissed off and not work with us. The man
Who cares?
hasn't worked with us since he's become Senate President. So anyway.
I agree with you, Jim. I try and keep my mouth shut over here in Louisiana and not get out there and be either partisan, and or be too hard on the legislators because you need their vote no matter what party they're in, Democrat or Republican. But I know Lefty. I see him shaking his head. It's like, nah.
It's the same thing here, where you do need votes from people that you normally wouldn't be standing on the same side of things often enough. But that's part of it. It always has been. It always will be. So, be able to do that. But what I do like about our Senate president is he's a Democrat, and I get to bitch at him a lot. And I get really creative trying to make him funneled into what I do, So like, I try to encourage upon people. Yeah, I'm an equal opportunity. Well, I can't, I'm not going to ring that dollar bell by swearing, but I'm an equal opportunity mother, I'm not a mother, so extrapolate. Somebody goes, why doesn't Jim want to swear tonight? I don't know. Trying to be more. I'm trying not to. I mean, I don't swear.
You're trying to make a good impression, right?
And also, if you haven't seen my hands yet, I'm not being as demonstrative as I can be, because like even Johnny just said, I was looking at myself saying something, and it's all over the place. So
I didn't mean to make you feel self-conscious about it. I'm sorry.
who'd that sound like? It sounded like Forrest Gump. That was it. Didn't mean you to be self-conscious about it. So, Tony, what's going on in your world that you really want to tell somebody about? Because we're here for you.
Well, I'm real excited about our group, our community mushroom group. We're building, getting more members. The members are very active. They volunteer to help other members whenever, we meet. They bring in their projects, and let everybody look at them and talk about how they grew their mushrooms. We grow mostly lion's mane and oyster mushrooms at the library. So, we have families come in, try and keep it, educational, community building, some stuff like that. We've gotten some donations, to help with what we do. Cyrus Lester with Maggie's mushroom farm in Baton Rouge was noticing how we were meeting. I was posting about our meetings and stuff, and he messaged me one day, and he offered to give me a free flow hood, 2 foot by 4 foot flow hood. He said, Tony, I see what you're doing, and I got this extra flow hood here. And I looked it up. It's like $2,100 flow hood new, and I guess about 1,500 used. But it helped our mission to grow mushrooms. It's much easier now with the flow hood. I'll bring it to the meetings to the library, and the folks are able to sit in front of it and do the work. So the contamination rates dropped off the map. We was having a lot of contamination in the end of last year, but since we've been using the flow hood, it's been really great. But yeah, we're just excited to, whenever we're at the meetings, I'll be teaching somebody something. I'll look up and there'll be 12, 15 people, but there are 2 or 3 over here talking and, all in a little conversation over here. And that some people never even met each other, and they come to the meeting and they get to knowing each other and developing, friendship. So I'm excited about that.
What's the vibe down in Louisiana with the whole rescheduling and what have you?
The cannabis, we had a terrible year for the legislative session. In fact, since 2017, I've been going to Capitol just about every year, except when I lived in Tucson. I missed a few meetings that I didn't go to advocate. But this year, Sue, it was horrible. We have a bill that's signed by the governor, which the governor backed, that if somebody gets caught in a school zone, 2,000-foot school zone in Louisiana, like Arizona was 300 foot, but over here it's 2,000. So it encompasses the areas of the city. And if you caught vaping or smoking cannabis in that 2,000-foot zone around schools, you can get sent to jail for a year. Now, if you have your medical cannabis license, you're good. So that guy there that's not a homeless person that's just smoking a joint, that guy that was able to go to the doctor and pay the money to get the recommendation and go to the dispensary, pay for that weed, he's okay. But if the other guy gets caught, he's going to jail for a year. So that's one of the bills we got out of this session. So it's I call them, I say that they suffering from drug war derangement syndrome.
We were just talking about syndromes.
Can't get over the fact that cannabis is medicinal and the state's getting money for it. And if you don't have money to go get your license, it don't mean that it's not medicinal for you, But they're so set on arresting people, punishment. I believe it stems from the slave days when Louisiana had 300,000 slaves after the Civil War ended, and the mentality, the punishment mentality, it's rampant over here. It's sad that it can't get past the fact that cannabis is medicinal, and we need to get it to the people and let them home grow it and use it to make tinctures and balms and all that and oils at home.
Yeah, and that will bring down the cost of prescription drugs for people that don't need to use them quite as much, or opiates where there's a synergistic effect, and at least you use less opiates if you're having cannabis with it. You can lower that by 80% real quick, from what I've grown to understand. And I don't know, maybe that's also an approach that could work in everywhere, because it's all about the prescription drug prices that are really hard to contain, especially when you do want pharmaceutical companies spending money on things that don't have a lot of clients. I mean, you're really shit out of luck if you get an affliction that a lot of people don't have, because nobody's going to be looking for medicine that'll take care of that if there's not enough clients, so to speak. So, it's just like, I mean, how can any of us understand? I'm surprised when you said, I don't know if did you call it cannabis derangement syndrome or whatever? I mean, I was just making fun of saying that, that if there's a Trump derangement syndrome, there's a Trump hero syndrome. People that just get this in their head, no matter what they see or hear. That's
zero.
And then you had to pile on with that, and yours was the most usable one. I mean, it really is a derangement syndrome for people to just still want to stay with that theory, because there's nothing that's forced them out of it in their life. And I don't know, I'm conflicted when somebody like that finds out that it could save, or maybe ends up saving, their mother's or father's life, or a son or a daughter, and then they have to live with that. So part of me feels sorry for them, and part of me, is like, not that nice part of me maybe, actually, I don't want to get satisfaction at it, so I don't really know how to react when that happens. I usually end up like just being glad, for the other people affected, in that circle of family or whatever that didn't have anything to do with cannabis one way or the other. But yeah, it gets to me, So yeah, that's not good. I want to feel better now. I want to feel better. Tell me something happy. Where are we making strides? Where are we making strides? Like
I was going to ask.
Well, we did have a bill here that allows terminally ill patients to access their medical cannabis, not vapor or smoking, but oils or stuff in hospitals.
So you have Ryan's law.
That bill, I think, got passed and signed. So
Yeah.
that's good. But, it's like Jim was saying, one of the podcasts I was listening to, like, oh, you got stage 3 cancer? No, you're not terminally ill. You can't have your cannabis in the hospital.
Yep.
Just if you're fixing to die, or missing some limbs and all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Then you can have it, but not if you just, suffering from some other immune compromised disease that you need to have cannabis.
You need stage 7 cancer.
You would understand then here, where our Senate president won't allow a bill to be heard that's for 4 plants and 4 adults, and it's a very conservative home-grown bill for patients, for medical, and us being only one of the 4 states out of 24 who have legalized cannabis. 24 states have, 20 allow their patients to grow, 4 states don't, and we're one. But to have a man actually 5 years ago to separate and say, what I might be okay with, we've been talking about, which is like, there's no we, he just says that. A very strictly controlled pilot program where maybe only the sickest or the most hurt patients are eligible.
Only stage 6 cancer. Only stage 6.
Oh, no. Yeah. But then look at that from the other side. The other view is, stage 2 cancer. No, not till you get stage 4 or 3. So like, come back when you're sicker, even though this is what could help make you better. That is the most tone-deaf statement I think I've ever heard.
It's also really not very bright of them, because if you know anything about the staging, if you're stage 4 and you go into remission, you're going to be stage 4 again if you get sick again. So it really, the whole idea of this doesn't make any sense at all. It really doesn't.
I never
Mhm.
thought of it that way. Going back, yeah. I mean, it makes sense, but no, man. I always learn something at a podcast. I hate when it's something like that, though.
Well, because I'm the nurse.
Ding.
I couldn't become a nurse.
Where's the bell? Ding.
Ding.
Listen, I couldn't become a nurse for the same reason I couldn't work in an animal shelter. I couldn't. I mean, I don't know. It's not. It's. I have an over amount of empathy that I can't turn off, and I really admire people who can make themselves do that and live doing that in order to help other people. You know, like me when I'm in the hospital, and you know, so you know, empathy works both ways sometimes. You know.
You know, I don't know that you could really say that we turn off our empathy. We don't.
Yeah, how would you phrase it better? I hear what you're saying, but
Compassion fatigue. It's called compassion fatigue.
Yes.
compartmentalize or some. I don't. Yeah, compassion.
You know what? You're there to save lives. You know, and you know, if it takes a special breed of people to do that. And I'm not saying that to pat me on the back. You know, I'm just saying, you know, it really does. Are there people out there that do lose their empathy, you know, as it's kind of like a self-protection model for them? You know, yeah, they are. But then they can't work in those, like, you know, highly critical areas, you know, because you are going to feel it. I cried over a lot of patients, you know, but I stayed in my zone.
Even when it's the burn unit.
Even when it's a burn unit.
Yeah, that I can't. Yeah. Hey, if I wore a hat, I'd tip my hat to you. But you know.
Thank you. Thank you.
They talk about it in this book a lot, what you're talking about.
The psychology of the unconscious. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
So Tony, so law-wise, what about psilocybin? Where is Louisiana about? Where are they with the psilocybin?
Well, we have we had a task force for alternative therapies for veterans in the fall last year, and I testified a couple of those. And the bill, what it turned into be, is just a synthetic drug research development bill. The state tried to cash in 20% on whoever develops a drug. They're going to get 20% forever. That fell through because they by the end the bill, you know, passed, but it was like 1% or something, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, that got passed. But we have a law about a plant medicine law, hallucinogenic plant medicine law in Louisiana. It's a little quirky law. It's got a list of like 30 or so hallucinogenic plants on here. It's revised statute 4989.1, and it's got some, you know, penalties for processing the psilocybin into pills or chocolates. It doesn't have anything in there that allows for therapy, like, you know, community-based therapy, plant medicine therapy. We don't have anything like that.
Mm-hmm. What about
we still I testified to try and get, you know, because this bill that passed is going to be a clinical type therapy, and it's going to be a synthetic drug, which is, I'm not against synthetic drugs.
Oh no.
I can take another bite.
Huh.
Well, that's typical with man, you know. It's like, here's a loofah. How about we make it out of plastic instead?
You're right.
We did lose Tony.
Oh man.
He'll be back.
So my question is to him: is in New Jersey, they're going to have these places where you can go take mushrooms. But what if you want a microdose? You actually have to sit there for an hour and be watched after doing a microdose. Like, really?
That's a good question. I don't think I've heard that posed before.
I don't want to. I just want a microdose. I don't want to take a full dose.
I took a course, and just because I wanted to see where this all sits, okay, on hallucinogenics. And for the most part, I toured a couple of psychiatrists' office that offer ketamine therapy, psilocybin therapy, what have you. It's very interesting, but there's nobody sitting there with them. However, what they consider to be like the handler or the person taking you on your journey,
Guide.
they're all
spiritual
social
guide.
workers. They're social workers. So I was really a little annoyed by that, because social workers are social workers. They are not healthcare workers.
They're not spiritual guides. They're not
Yeah,
shaman.
they're also not spiritual
Yeah.
guides. Social workers,
Thank
they
you.
have, they have a demanding job, and I applaud them for that. But as far as like when you think about it, like what happens, like if there's a patient there, like, and they're taking them through one of these journeys, with whatever drug they're using, and they have a bad reaction, what are they going to do? Call 911?
No, there's nothing you really can do. Just talk them down from it. The only other thing you give them is like a Xanax.
Yeah, but they're not allowed to dispense medications.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. That's the only thing that they could do. They're just sitting there, just making sure like you don't hurt yourself, I guess.
Yeah, well, they have no place there, I don't think.
Cold
That's
bucket
not-
of water. Throw a cold bucket of water on them.
Yeah, just put them in the rubber room.
I do like to do at a festival, but I'm in
And then
a
you can hug yourself the whole time.
Mhm. Take yourself,
Puddle
take
puddle.
yourself floating out, right?
no sleeping bag and duct tape. No, I've seen it work. So how
Fuck.
no, seriously, how fast can you log roll into something? Not that fast. And there's a guy. It was like at one of the New York festivals, and he was having a bad reaction from some sort of hallucinogen, and it wasn't a violent one. It was just and not like he just
How'd it go, Jim? How was it?
not a horrible time.
Oh.
He would roll by and people would be passing joints and just step over him as he rolls under them, and and then I saw him about like 7 hours later sitting passing joints around with somebody. So I guess it wore off, and they set him free, But
Dusted.
yeah, that's really also a good point. I the microdose. What if you do want a microdose? And
Yeah, you microdose on your own. That's when I microdosed psilocybin. That's what I did. I did it on my own. No, there was nobody telling me what
Come
to
on,
do.
let's go on your journey. Okay, hold my hand. Okay, let's go.
Bye. See ya.
Right?
I feel fine. I feel a little happy. Can
Well,
I
that's
go
like
now?
when we used to go to the.
Microdosing, is also different for every person. What affects me doesn't necessarily affect you the same way, right? So the standard dose of psilocybin is 4 grams, right? That's a big hit.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I know. So, but hear me out. So you have to find where your dose is between 1 and 4, right? Because there are some people that can tolerate a higher dose. So, it's I don't know.
There we are.
I used to microdose 0.05 grams.
Of
It wasn't even a tenth of a gram. It was
A lot of people are asking about boofing. Is it possible to boof mushrooms or no? That's not good.
I've never heard. Well, I've heard people mention boofing, but I'm not sure if the psilocybin has to turn into psilocin for you to be able to get there. So most people do a lemon tech. Just it already turns it into psilocin when you do lemon tech. So when you ingest it, sometimes you don't have the stomach discomfort or something from the psilocybin.
Is there such a thing as psilocybin suppositories, or is that not a thing?
I'm not sure.
that's just in your mind, Lefty.
I know cannabis suppositories got me through this surgery right here with no opiates, 0 opiates. That took
Yeah, cannabis suppositories work really well.
very good.
Probably you could do the same thing with psilocybin. You know, the psilocybin I had they were called sillies, and they were gummies, and you know they were good, and I was able to break them up, you know, and see how I felt and how did I feel every day, and then what I would do is I would do 3 days on, 3 days off, and then you know whatever cycle you want to do, you know, whatever works for you. But nobody knows really, you know, enough that
You
they're
just
going
have to be careful with. You have to be careful with those because you can get into serotonin syndrome if you
Yeah, right.
do that too long a period of
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the stuff I'm not sure what you had, but some of it I see people send me messages sometime. What about this stuff? And it's not really psilocybin. It's some kind of synthetic, you know, derivative of psilocybin molecule, but it's not, you know, natural mushroom. But yeah, we need to have more education, like in Louisiana. In Tucson, we had Tucson Psychedelic Society where they met, you know, in the city council buildings and they discussed dosing and you know, different plants and, you know, stuff like that. But in Louisiana, nothing like that. And in our mushroom meetings, we don't, you know, we'd mention the law to tell them about the psychedelic plant law here to make sure they don't grow a psilocybin and start selling it, you know. We mentioned that, but that's about as far as we get into psilocybin in our meetings, in our mushroom meetings, you know. Although we can grow them for decorative purposes in Louisiana, we just can't process them and eat them, you know. So we call them decorative mushrooms. We're like, is that one? What's the decorative properties of that one? Is it really decorative?
Funny.
So is
Wow.
processing considered picking it?
Yeah.
No,
Decorative.
you can harvest it.
You know,
Uh,
I did decorative joints one time.
Here's the. Can you read that? There, that section it says you can.
I can read it well.
Provision
Section-
shall not
sec-
apply.
I said
Section D.
landscaping. Okay. Yeah, landscaping purposes.
And
Nice.
decorative.
A whole yard full. You
Yeah,
ever-
so we always call them decorative
Well,
mushrooms. You know,
listen, if
are
that
them
was,
really decorative, or if you decorate tonight,
Hey,
you ain't gonna, you're
I
not
got
gonna
an
get up in the
idea. Let's decorate the state house.
I had an
Yeah.
idea like 50 years ago with my Christmas tree. And, well, actually, it was longer. I was married for 3 years until I was 25. And I decided that I could roll little white icicles and put, you know, a little bag tie. It would be around bread. They had green ones. So you could then poke a little hole in the end and then hang them. And they look like icicles. And I mean, somebody was over the house an entire evening one time. And then they looking at the tree. Are those little icicles? Yes, they are. Why don't you go pick us an icicle? You know, and I never saw somebody get such great joy out of going over and then taking that out and lighting the other end because this one had a hole in it, you know. And so for decorative purposes, yeah, and it worked. I mean, it was a big hit. So I guess you could have like mushrooms and joints hanging from a Christmas tree, and you're pretty well good.
Yeah,
You
make
can
some
string 'em
mushroom
up like
earrings.
popcorn.
Make some mushroom earrings and little.
Oh yeah,
My mushroom earring I got in it's a
Wow.
morel mushroom. I got it from
when we
Tyler Hacking. He was speaker at the Tucson Southwest Arizona Fungus Fest, is what they called it, and I went to that festival and he was selling these little morel mushrooms. Yeah, you can. That's what I say in Louisiana. They're decorative. You can make jewelry or little Christmas tree garland mushroom.
even
We need
when,
more mushroom meetings and fungi fests.
there's no law against brandishing a bud in New Jersey because it's legal to have. So you know, I thought if I could ride around with up to 6 ounces on my dashboard down the park or something and be legal, that I could have an earring like, you know, that really prized bud, And really, I mean, just put it on my here and here, go through Walmart, getting whatever, and you know, it could become a really in demand fashion accessory.
You know, we did one time in the one year in the burn ICU. We always put up a Christmas tree, of course, because nobody liked us and nobody ever came near us.
Oh, so you wanted one like this, Jim, right? Like that?
So we've
There you go.
There you go. So we filled syringes with Benadryl, and then we filled some with Donatol because it's green. You know what Donatol is? It's
Donatol?
phenazole and scopolamine.
Okay.
Okay. I don't think they even sell it anymore, but we used to have it a lot. It was a good chaser for if you had a bad night. Yeah. So, and then we took Curlex and we put it around his garland on the tree, you know, and then we got in trouble from, you know, the administration for wasting your money.
Having too much fun.
Yeah, they wanted to know what we were doing down there. We also had tanks of nitrous oxide, which they removed from the tank room because it was a good idea.
Precautionary move.
Yeah.
Everybody's got deep voices down there, like, what's going on, Dolphin?
That would be from inhaling Freon. That would happen.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's the stupidest thing I might have ever done, but 3 people did it before me, and you know.
You did that?
Well, yeah, it was like putting a towel or something over to Ed, and then it would spray. You know, yeah. After 3, yeah, well, I was that freaking stupid a long time ago, and I'm half that stupid now still. You know, but the thing is, it makes your voice so deep that the first time you say anything, you start laughing, and then your laugh is the funniest laugh. It's like below Lurch from Lurch, you know. How can I forget where he was from? But anyway, it was
Adam's Family.
Yeah, the impossibly low voice, and it just, you know, and then it goes away. So
you rang
one time, just to make everybody else laugh, somebody did helium and somebody did Freon, and they tried to have a conversation.
Oh my God, that would be funny.
It was. I mean, you know, pretending like they were having an argument.
Mickey Mouse versus the devil.
Yeah, right. It's what that was like, you know. Mickey Mouse and Lurch arguing. Oh well. Yeah, there's a lot to be dealt with. You know, how long ago was it really that psilocybin? To me, around in New Jersey, it seemed like about 6 years ago, maybe 7. You know, it started to come into the cannabis advocacy world, you know, and when you know or find out enough about it, you know, well, at the Coalition for Medical Marijuana, yeah, that was a 2003 term at the time. So that's, you know, I mean, it's kind of like the NAACP, you know, they don't change what it is, but it sounds funnier, you know, I mean, out of place almost. But, yeah, you know, I had to take a vote on our mission statement to include psilocybin, and you know that's the way to go about it. And I had reservations, like knee-jerk reservations. I mean, I knew I understood the difference, but then something made it abundantly clear the benefit to a therapist that's trying to make breakthroughs with somebody, and they take forever. Mm-hmm. And then when it was explained to me in that respect how quick it could
psilocybin works.
Yeah. I mean, you know, well, we'll see you next week. We'll see you a couple times. You know, how long till a breakthrough? It could take a year in some cases. I mean, people, of course, go for therapy, you know,
for 100 years
all the time. And you know, the idea of getting from point A to point B and like way quicker, you know, I'm surprised there's not a bigger voice from organizations of that kind, you know, mental therapeutic organizations. I'm surprised there isn't more more of that coming from the people that would be using it, or maybe it is, and I'm just not noticing
It is. It is. It's out there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It
Tony,
is.
Tony, the first time you took mushrooms, what was it like? How old were you, and what was it like for you?
That's
Uh, it was, I didn't take a heroic dose. It was just kind of like probably 1 gram or, you know, it wasn't a bunch. And my biggest heroic dose thing experience was ayahuasca in Tucson. I had dose ayahuasca and I had the out of body experience. And I was
Yeah,
like,
that's fun.
I was drinking a lot. And I said, there's a really good ayahuasca group. You have to set an intention before. So they work with you with your intention, your diet,
Yeah.
clean up your diet. You can't eat, you know, like greasy food before you go into ayahuasca. You gotta clean it up, and then you have your ceremony, and after your ceremony, you do integration. You know, they kind of talk to you about what you went through, and mine wasn't real scary. I just felt like I was outside my body, and I was like, looked down at my life, and I was drinking a lot, and pretty much every day wake up, and that was the first thing I thought about, what time I get to drink today, you know. And I went in there and had that ayahuasca, and just like that, I was like, what are you doing? You need to stop all that. And I went home that day, and that morning you go in there in the tent out in the desert south of Tucson, and it's about 40 miles south of Tucson, middle of nowhere. You get in this yurt and you do the ceremony at like 8 o'clock at night. You start it and you go all night long, and they have the music, the Ikara music and all that while you're going through this. And then in the morning, you have to go back to your hotel or your home. So when I got back home that morning, I had 3 beers in my icebox, and I poured them down the drain. And I didn't think about drinking for like 3 years, until I moved back to Louisiana, you know, I went through some breakup, you know, divorce and that, and I moved back here, and I kind of started drinking again. But then I went back over there and had a ceremony. So it helps. I think you need it about every 6 months. People, they need to tune up every 6 months with heroic dose.
Is that, I'm glad you added that.
Get that oil change.
Because a lot
Yeah.
there are people that don't know about the maintenance, and the change can be, well, in the case of ibogaine, I imagine it's the same sort of theory, though, that you need a maintenance of some sort. And when your life becomes idyllic compared to how it was before that, and it's like a 90-degree right turn, it's not a curve, it's, I guess, hard to understand it, and you almost don't feel the need to understand it because it's not a bad thing. I mean, there's more pressure to understand why something's going wrong than why something's going right. You just kind of go with it. And through tragic personal experience, he found that out, and it's I think it's the impossibility in some people's minds that a heroic dose like that could do something. Let me ask you though, do you drink now, like socially, alcohol, or not at all?
No, not at all. I'm drinking
Cool.
a THC beverage.
Yeah, nice.
Well, all we can get is 5 milligrams in Louisiana. Used to be able to get a 50 milligram beverage, and they killed that a couple of years ago. Dropped it down to 5. But thank goodness, I'm grateful, universe. I'm grateful that we have 5 milligrams over here.
Well, good. 5 milligrams keeps you smiling and not even thinking about drinking. I mean, that's amazing when you think of what so many people going through a rigorous AA program and really working the program and staying with it. And that's a lot of work. And it's still, I would guess, without maintenance, it would become work if you didn't. But to stop drinking, I hadn't heard about that. I'd heard about people stopping a lot of things and stopping, breaking addiction, and then not realizing for a couple of weeks, wow, I didn't notice I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. It's don't even notice it.
That's how I started advocating. I started taking CBD oil. Back when I hurt my back, I was taking the opiates and that, and I was just running out of my opiates. I was addicted to them, and I said, well, let me try the CBD. And a couple of weeks after it started, it took a while for my endocannabinoid system to build back up the deficiencies that it had in it, I guess. But because after 2 weeks, I had a bunch of BC powders that I always keep in my pocket to help it with the pain in between waiting on my next pain meds come in, And so I said, well, I'm not taking these BC powders anymore. What's going on? And I realized it was CBD. And I started the Louisiana Betters for Medical Cannabis after that. I was like, we got to change laws and make this available because it's medicinal to me, And
What year was that about? Time frame?
I went to my first advocacy day. I got invited to Cannabis Advocacy Day in Baton Rouge in 2017. And I came back in 2018 and started the Facebook group, Louisiana Veteran. And I've rallied several veterans. We, several years, every year. ATN Fontaine came, and him and Donna came to the rally and 1 year. But yeah, it was started in 18, and every year I had a home grow rally, or 1 year I had a plant medicine rally, psychedelic rally. I had Greg Lake over there speaking. He's affiliated with like Psychedelic Church attorney. He helps people get their psychedelic church. But we had a plant medicine rally at the Capitol and all that. But the only years, like I said, whenever I lived in Tucson. Now I was over in Phoenix in Tucson at the Capitol, helping with their adult use in 2020. We collected signatures and got adult use on the ballot and got that passed. But right after that, I left and came back to Louisiana and continued. We had a rally where we tried to get firefighters. We had an employment protection bill that passed for state employees. But like if you're in the private industry, no. But the state employees, they couldn't keep the state employment roles filled because everybody was going and failing drug screens. So the state guy that was in charge of that actually went in there and advocated next to the legislator. Said, yeah, we need this. We need to be able to. They need to be able to use medical cannabis, because we can't keep our employment. Everybody's failing the test, So they have it protection for that, but we tried to get the firefighter and first responders protected. They can take all the other pharmaceuticals and drink alcohol and all that. So why not have that ability to take even CBD oil? It's non-psychoactive CBD, but they'll get fired even for that.
Yeah, I could remember when I first heard before people having that kind of protection when it started becoming legal, where they have workplace protection. But as far as the federal government was concerned, they were having a problem getting computer hackers of the highest skill levels when they would get in trouble, and then they would get recruited, but they couldn't pass the cannabis test. It would always show up. So when I heard that they didn't do that, in other words, they were accepting people whether or not they smoked cannabis, I thought, holy crap, if an organization like at that level trying to protect this country, when it came down to that, they freaking realized it right away. There was no, but it's bad drug, they knew it, and they knew exactly how important it was. And that told me, like on one hand, you mothers, you get it when it affects you, but it didn't just affect them, it affected everybody, So, that definitely should run downhill to first responders, healthcare, or all sorts of professions that you want to make sure you have the best of the best there. And sometimes, unfortunately, for people who don't like it or understand it, that includes cannabis. And they don't understand that sometimes it's the cannabis that got that person to the height of their profession.
Facts.
I saw it. My hands were moving. Damn it.
Tony, do you have ibogaine treatment centers in Louisiana?
No, the bill that passed, they're planning on starting a research project, but I think it's going to be through universities, and
Yeah,
we don't.
Stanford, I think, did a research study on ibogaine, and from what I read from the study, I think, and correct me if anybody knows I'm wrong, because I'm trying to think of what I read, but I read that you may not get a craving for months or a year, but you may. But the ibogaine trip itself, the effects of the ibogaine last for 3 days.
That would
Wow.
depend on the dose, for I would think, to a degree.
I don't want to trip for
Well,
3
yeah, but like
days.
that's like, you know what? People on methadone maintenance, that methadone is a 3-day thing.
Yeah.
You know? And a lot of people don't understand that because, of course they dish it out every day to everyone.
Yeah, well,
That's on methadone.
it has to have an overlapping effect. It's certainly a better wavelength that way, or less of a wavelength.
It's
But,
like
the only,
San Pedro cactus is like one molecule off of peyote cactus. Right? Peyote's protected, the Native American church. You have to have special, to use peyote. But the San Pedro is sold at Home Depot, and it's just one molecule off. But that's like an 8-hour psychedelic experience. So you better, if you take that, you better be somewhere you right setting for that for sure.
well, also the ibogaine, in the case of the heroic dose that I'm referring to, not mine, my Cheryl's son, my stepson. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, he it was a paralytic, for one. I mean, at a dose like that, I mean, you did not move. It wasn't that you're trying to move. It's just you weren't moving. I don't know if it's directly, that's the right word, but that's the right word. He and the person guiding him through it used. And at a dose like Carl had, it was just like I've spoken of before. I got a call from him 3 days later. He was in Amsterdam, and Sarah, who was taking care of him there and guiding, being there for him, the one that administered. She was very happy. That's all I need to know. And she said he wanted to talk to you, and he's going to say things that just won't make any sense, but it's all good. And so I dove in feet for I had total trust. And then he told me about how he had just got back from Africa, where he went and met it was a tribe of people. And the short version is they were being besieged by this beast in their village, and he was the only one that could help. And he doesn't remember exactly how it happened, but he remembers coming back out of the jungle to the clearing where they were, and he had the beast's head, and they were like freaking happy. And he's telling me this with great excitement, and he really believes it. And it was 3 days later, So anyway, I don't know what kind of, thing that was, maybe it was like, it was just somebody that, hey, try this amount. But nonetheless, of course, the turn in his life was dramatic, but you didn't realize about a follow-up dose, so it doesn't have a happy ending, but it showed how dramatic it was and how much time it could take out of that, trying to get down to a certain point in recovery, the breakthroughs that you go through along the way, and the little dams that you meet. I hear about this, I've never had actual therapy myself, except for me being my own therapist. I don't think that counts. I don't know. No, it's okay. I've gotten pretty good at it. I don't do it anymore so much, but Kathy I wouldn't say in front of her weren't true. You might sit in the other room and it'd be quiet. No, did you say something? Yeah, never mind.
Just talking to my doctor.
No, I was like going one way, and then my common sense stopped me. No, I don't want to do that. I was having that with myself, but weirdly enough, I can trust myself almost more than anybody. And if I'm going to make myself do
As you
stuff I
should.
want to do, that's like, I know it's-
Someone had to say it.
yeah. Hey, I wasn't using my hands. Huh?
No, you weren't.
Yeah, we digress a bit here now and then, Tony.
So Tony, Oregon and Colorado, psilocybin is regulated by the state, right? It's legal by the state. By those states.
New Mexico has a program as well. Yes, Colorado has a great program. I was actually on a podcast with it's Canopy Genetics. I'm sorry, I can't get the name's not coming off, but they're growing, so doing some interesting things with psilocybin, stressing out the spores and that, and making the psilocybin and making more strength out of the mushrooms and stuff. But yeah, they have good programs. Louisiana, we don't have. The clinical thing is great, but we need to set up the mechanism for treatment, training facilitators, getting the clinic and there's community-based treatment that Louisiana is not looking at. Like with the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, we could actually be having psychedelic churches in Louisiana in every state. But, they're
Nice.
just, they're not allowing like homegrown mushrooms, like building local mushroom farmers, letting them grow the psilocybin for the state. I wouldn't advocate for all that, but they didn't listen to none of that. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear, a synthetic where you go into a clinic, but sometimes you're going to price out people with clinical, $3,000 for treatment, psilocybin, where if you go in a community setting with maybe 3 or 4 facilitators and maybe 10 to 15 people, then the costs, go way down. You can treat all those. You don't need a special room, with 2 people in there. Like the MAPS protocol calls for a male and a female, I think, in the treatment room, and then you're there for 4 or 5 hours on psilocybin. So, if you do a community-based thing, it lowers the cost and it makes it more accessible to people.
Would an Indian reservation, or do they? Because they have certainly freedom to do all sorts of stuff that the federal government
So sacred ceremonies.
Yeah, right. So, do any of them have like psilocybin treatment on that level? Okay, for instance, in Florida, you can be in Hollywood, Florida, right off A1A, and right there there's cigarettes that aren't taxed, and you go in and you can buy 2 cartons of untaxed cigarettes. You can play bingo there, where they got a $10,000 prize, but the rest of Florida has a $500 major prize. It would seem to me that on a reservation, it would be possible, whether or not they would be wanting to do it for outsiders, but I would think they'd be doing something like that because it's similar to their sacred ceremonies, and
Yes, and the indigenous tribes are not real happy with how we've been messing with their sacred medicines.
I don't blame them.
I don't either.
No, I don't blame them either. They need to protect that. I think with ibogaine, they're gonna try and send money back to that tribe where the ibogaine grew at. But yeah, the Native American Church not happy either. The way peyote, they want exclusive, rights to be able to give that plant in ceremony, I guess what you say. But yeah, it normally gets commodified and corporatized and messed all up. I like natural plant medicine.
Well,
I think we all like natural plant medicine.
Yeah.
I don't.
No. Okay.
yeah. Well,
I like my poisons.
I like to know who my dealer is.
You know, much like there would be Indians very easily sticking up for their ways, their sacraments that we would consider a dangerous drug or something. But I would think that churches likewise would realize some form of, hey, this is of seed that God saw was good in Genesis or whatever. I'm not a real biblical sort of guy, you know. I mean, I do okay when it's the Bible in jeopardy. I do pretty good in the category, but I'm talking about the real parts of it, the history of them all. But you know, it's kind of the opposite. It seems, and in New Jersey, I don't know if anywhere else, but it was actually the black Baptists that really were not for legalizing cannabis, and I found that a little bit odd. Nothing to do with the specifics of who, I mean, or what kind of religion, but it's a plant, you know, and now that it's come a long way from reefer madness, where it's almost impossible not to understand that it actually has medicinal benefits. I mean, that being the case, I don't know. I feel like if I could challenge the church more about that, I'd have a right to, you know. And a long time ago, 30 years ago, when trying to find out things, what was like basically snail mail and microfilm and things. I would what I call go fishing from a book of addresses of famous people or sports categories, and I do religions, and I would ask them about this in the case of my wife Cheryl, who finds marijuana to be good for her multiple sclerosis, and did get from the Billy Graham evangelical situation, evangelical associations, that the end of it was therefore in Cheryl's case we would hope for an exception to the law, and by saying in Cheryl's case that extrapolates to everybody's case, you know. So it was actually gave people in this country something to point to, you know, with who supports this. So I guess if you looked up the Billy Graham, yeah, you looked that up, that would be trying to, and I guess I don't get it, except for saying either I'm missing a piece of that puzzle, or I don't understand that the people that I think are like really that kind of religious don't live that kind of religious life or something, you know. I mean, it's like Doug Stanhope, the comedian, would do. He'd go, "Okay, we got any what would he say? I'd say Catholics in. Oh yeah, there's any Catholics in here. I don't know why he wasn't picking on them in particular. It was an easy mark. And obviously, some people, yeah, damn right. And then qualify hardcore or what? You know, I mean, you know. And then he tell, you know, this story about how a guy really when he wanted to really beat up somebody, could play loud music as the Beastie Boys, and he couldn't sleep at night, you know, and then God didn't say anything about it, maybe because it was a beast, and you know, it's I think people maybe should be challenged to prove their faith by supporting rights to sick people who cannabis would help to be able to grow some of their own medicine when they can't afford it. You know,
Of course.
can't do it though. I don't know. Maybe you got
That's
to
the devil's lettuce.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, you know, Chuck Thomas of the marijuana policy project. My brain's working too quick right now. Yeah, he was dating a woman who he did marry then, and she was a Unitarian Universalist, I think it is, a UU, and they were right off good with medical marijuana. They were like really good about it, you know.
Yeah.
And but you know, I don't know. Lefty could say, you know, he has. Okay, Lefty, have you had a hard time finding the right church that goes along with cannabis like this, because I'm very impressed by your honesty of looking for that and the liquid. What's that liquid church called? Lefty?
Liquid Church.
Liquid something.
Yeah, Liquid doesn't like cannabis very much, and I got a problem with that.
Okay, and I got to tell you, I mean, I felt bad for you when you were going there to give them everything you have, and not about cannabis, nothing to do with that.
I brought ramps because they had no wheelchair access to two of their entrances, so I bought them ramps. So, nobody's perfect,
But did they not believe it worked to help sick people? Or
If you look in the Bible under leaves of healing, it's in Revelation, leaves of healing. It talks about the recipe for cannabis, for anointing oil has cannabis in it, called cannabosum. Tommy knows. Hi, Tommy. Tommy's
Hey,
in.
everybody. Lefty,
Hey,
it's great to see you.
Good to see you, brother.
Hey, I
Going
want to
on?
give. Oh, can you see me if I go like this, Lefty? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. I can't see you.
Okay, that's all right. Because what I was hoping to do is go through a couple of the things that we had been talking about when it comes to trying to help New Jersey patients become able to grow cannabis and to be able to access medicine that they just haven't been able to do it. And we've been having a great chat. And I believe it's been you, me. We've got Ken Wolski in there. We've got Jim Miller's in there. Jim, big shout out. And then Kim, right? Lefty, is that correct?
what?
The people that we've been talking to about trying to figure out a way to get the attention because we need to get this bill heard. Jim has an incredible bill and it needs to be heard. Has there been any development on the hearing of Jim's bill?
No.
No, nothing? No word from Scutari or anybody in any kind of
No.
position?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you about it for a minute, but we have a guest over here, Tony, and want to get back to him. But first of all, Tommy, congratulations. Tommy wrote a book. God damn, that's one thing I've been wanting to do my whole life, and he did. And got to have you on as a guest one day for sure. As a matter of fact,
Thank you, Jim. And I know you want to get Tony back on there. If I can just real quick, right? So when I think about this, I think about in the politician's position. What benefit does it give the politician for us to have home grow? How many people will it benefit? Because if we have a small number of people, that works out well for them as well. Because there's not too many of us that want to take advantage of this home grow. You figure there's 100 to 1,000 people who might try it, and then people like us can actually use it. There's not going to be too many people involved. So
I'll tell you what, I think that you're looking at it on how we can give them a good reason for how it helps people and all that. That's giving them a lot of credit. Like that would be a moving force in what goes on that we don't know. They're guarding votes, and if I do this, then he's not going to help me. All the stuff we don't know. But I'd be interested to see what answer you might get if you ask yourself the same question from the opposite direction. In other words, if you can't give somebody $20, but you can pick your pocket for $20 and don't do it, that's kind of the same thing to them. So what I'm saying is, if you can't give somebody or offer them something that will help them from doing this in what they're doing, is there something that you could not do and trade for them doing something? In other words, if it's like, I'm going to write a bad review for your restaurant, can I get a free hamburger? You know what I'm saying? It would be an even trade on a much more, but if you explode that to what would this guy not want to happen or people know about, or what would cause him a problem? Okay, that's why people protest. You go, you show up, you try to be a pain in the ass, and maybe they won't want you to do that, but it's not gonna work in this case. I guess to answer Tom's question, it's not gonna work. by offering them any kind of truce because they won't honesty. What you do in doing that is you take away their culpable deniability to say, I didn't know that. So if they take that step showing they know it, yeah, then they're guilty of doing other things. If they didn't know, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. You mean it really is that much of a problem for patients financially? Yeah. You mean people probably died because they couldn't afford their full amount of cannabis? Yeah. Oh, I didn't know. And then they go ahead and give you begrudging help. So basically, I hear somebody's working on a plan like that with Nick Scutari. They make him an offer he can't refuse. Where nobody gets in trouble.
An offer you can't refuse.
Yeah,
What
well,
do you mean? And what's the offer?
that's a Godfather reference. A guy had a horse.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So basically, if somebody warned him you're going to find that horse's head in your bed, yeah, he would have given the guy the part in the movie. You see, and the horse would be alive, and the movie would have a different actor, and everybody go home happy.
What do you think if they could bring? What do you think if it brings economy? If it can power the economy and give them something to show that they're generating more tax dollars and helping people at the same time? What do you think about the economic proposal?
I don't think about it. I'm just
If I was them and I was sitting in their shoes, I'm sitting next to the comptroller, I'm sitting next to the people who control the taxes. I want to know how this can benefit me in my seat to power my career.
Oh, I wish you were a Senate president then, because we'd have medical cannabis home grow for patients, because you would understand. But for the people that won't, they need some kind of horse's head metaphor, and that kind of thing exists once everything else doesn't work. But now that we're entering the 6th year of a bill not being heard, I think we can make a good case for it's impossible otherwise, and we need to line all our ducks up in a row, all the things that haven't worked, chronicle them, be able to, prove all of it. And I think that warrants going to whatever next level might be within the law. Now,
Tim, what do you think about collecting?
I got to cop to something here real quick before I forget. The reason I'm even saying this now is kind of like because after the fact, when something happens, we can come back, view this, and go, son of a bitch had an idea back then when he was talking to us. That's all I can say.
Right on.
So anyway, but we got to get back to Tony's educating. Stay, right there. I haven't seen you in so long. It's kind of cool,
I'll turn my mic off.
Yeah, but I got to tell you, I've learned some stuff, as I always do. Is why I like our own podcast. It's all about me. I get to learn, And how many states do have Grimes law? You talked about that before, Tony, about being able to get this into clinical settings. I forget exactly in which way you're referring to it as. And so Louisiana does have Ryan's law. I know that California and Maryland do. Are there any others sneaking in that I don't know about yet? Because I would assume there's going to be states following pretty rapidly once they see the benefit of it.
There's 4 more states.
Is there 4? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's just going to make it, I hope, easier here too, because to have
Washington, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Colorado, Hawaii, and New York.
Yeah, I don't think I heard Hawaii the last time I heard the list.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I guess
so. But for everything else we're talking about, when they are more accepted clinically, Ryan's law should cover that as well. I mean, I've sued. How it's worded in Ryan's law. In other words, it doesn't refer to cannabinoids cannabis products specifically, and then do they have to go as well as ibogaine and
No, no. This
how do
goes into the how just the same way the states are governing cannabis.
how do they word that in Ryan's law that you may not you may just I'm
There's,
hoping
they have they have federal programs that facilities can enroll in, and then they have to follow whatever whatever guidelines and regulations for that particular state. Like California is different than Washington, and Washington is different than Hawaii. So it's like that. Ryan had he had pancreatic cancer, and he was on his deathbed, and he did die. And Jim, his father, had to really push the envelope to be able to have him at least relieved for that last week or two of his life. So California has the best Ryan's law because they did it first, and they brought it to the Virgin Islands too.
Well, then that makes all the breakthroughs with things like psilocybin going to be easier to bring to people who are in clinical settings already, where I would argue it might be needed most, because it wouldn't fit that after all with cannabis and how it can, especially with terminal diseases, all that it can do, that it's not used in clinical settings, only in your home, and I like to be excited about something happening, and I don't want to think all these great breakthroughs that you can save and get.
Okay, so like in New York, right? So New York, what they do is they allow a patient to, if the patient's going to be admitted, they allow the patient to bring their medicine with them, and this is how most of them do it. So the patient can bring their cannabis, with them, or their caretaker can bring it, and they use it. It's not the nurses and physicians giving the cannabis, obviously.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. So it works. It works really well in California, but you know what? They've been working on this since 2014. So they have the best menu to follow. However, every state wants to do its own thing, so it varies.
Yeah.
And that's going to be according to whatever regulations those particular states have. And Hawaii is kind of like a strict state too. So I'm a little surprised that Hawaii even went further. As much as we think about Hawaii, oops, I just knocked myself off. Okay, back. I forgot what I was saying.
You knocked yourself off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Tony, thank you for your time. Do you have a website that people can reach out to you on, or you want to promote something?
No, well, I do have a website. I pay to have a website, but I don't maintain it. I just work out of Facebook. It's just, I don't have a programmer to do it, and I'm just not familiar enough to use Codex or whatever they do and to make it. But I'm Katie Ann and Michael on Facebook. I can pull up that group if anybody wants to follow us on Facebook. Katie
Yeah,
Ann
I'm
and Michael.
Yeah, I'm on that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I just started following it or whatever. So how many kinds of mushrooms have you? How many different varieties have you actually been involved with?
I've grown reishi. This is some reishi right here. They're good for sleep, to help you sleep. The lion's mane. This is some we actually cooked some of this lion's mane in the library last week. We harvested half a block. Now this block probably a $10 block of Master's Mix, and that right there is probably $20 or $30 worth of lion's mane. It sells for $20 a pound. So.
I hear about lion's mane all the time, and I have no idea what it is.
It's so easy to grow. You take, a bag of grain, This is some Milo right here. I just did some red Milo. And then
What
you,
are, what are what is the characteristic of taking it? What's the effect? I mean, or what would it help or relieve or you know what's
the
it?
line.
Yeah,
The lion's mane, isn't that that's super mushroom?
Oh yeah, it's got some
Yeah.
neural growth factors. It helps you. Paul Stamets has a video on YouTube where they do a tapping test for dementia patients, and they give them, so 1 minute, how many times you can tap your fingers, and then they put them on lion's mane. And I don't remember this video if he has a what they call the Stamets stack where you use a psilocybin and niacin and lion's mane in combo. And what happens, the lion's mane repairs the
Tinglies.
myelin sheath around your nerve, and then the psilocybin grows the nerve so you can repair nerve damage.
Whoa, the myelin sheath you're talking about now?
Yeah.
Yeah, his
That's
video.
like, that's the MS holy grail. The decaying of the myelin sheath is all about what little by little takes away. You know, it's in multiple sclerosis terms when they're trying to get people to understand things. It's like you start putting holes in a hose, water doesn't stop running out the end, but it flows down, and it's sort of like the more. So I'm just kind of I don't trust the MS Society. I fought with them for years about this whole different story, but I can't believe that I'm not hearing about this through the MS Society or anything. I'm going to investigate. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but that blew me away. You know, I mean, that was, and I watched, lived that with Cheryl watching hers and the results of it. So, you know, this kind of pisses me off that I'm not hearing about it from the NSSI.
And it might be because it speeds up the transmission, to the nerves. Maybe that's why.
That makes sense, you know, because maybe that's in effect plugging up the little holes or something, or get, man.
Sounds about right.
Lefty, are you testing yourself? You tapping on your head?
So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. My little workshop. I did 25 bags like this, and instead of having the people go in and inject the spores and waiting 2 weeks for this to happen, I'm gonna do them ahead of time, and then I'm taking just some wood pellets and hydrating, pasteurize them the night before, and bringing 25 bags of this, and teach them how to transfer it. So and then this is the this is the wood pellets after the mushroom mycelium's in there. You see it growing there, that white.
Yeah.
This is what they'll leave out of the workshop with, this right here, and they'll take it home. In about 2 weeks, it'll turn solid white, and they'll put a couple of slits in it, and the mushrooms will come right out of that.
That's amazing. That is, it's not that easy. I'm here. I have great reflexes, tapping on, you give me a bongo drums, you'd be amazed, but doing this, how that's not that fast. I mean, I'm surprised. Wow. So yeah, that's the test then. I can see where, I don't know exactly how that works out down the line, but that's about as easily measurable as you can get. Just timing how many taps per whatever the time length is. It's there's a lot of different types of mushrooms in it. That's what you're saying.
Oh yeah, the even like the oyster mushrooms have anti-inflammatory properties, or the gourmet. Yes, and the psilocybin, there's such a profound impact it's going to have on mental health treatment. We hadn't had anything in 30 years, new SSRIs or anything. So the psilocybin is going to really help the mental health crisis we're in, because treating addiction, depression, and anxiety You're going to have a new tool. You know, that you're going to have people go and get a microdose once the FDA gets it approved. Yeah, I'd like to see psilocybin, like death doulas, be able to go and administer psilocybin to people and, you know, on their deathbed, and have it in the prison reentry programs when people getting out of prison, give them a, you know, big heroic dose and all that stuff, man. They need to make it happen.
Yeah, man.
I've never.
Tony,
That's amazing.
Tony, what's the relationship with psilocybin and tryptamine? Because we started to talk about tryptamine last week when we had Etane on.
Yeah. The only I went to the 2019 psychedelic conference in Tempe in Phoenix, Arizona. That's the beginning of my psychedelic training. I got a little more research read and, you know, into the endocannabinoid system and cannabis, but other than knowing the different plants and the different, you know, types of dosing that's used and stuff like that with psychedelic plants and cacti and fungi, I know how to grow, you know, the mushrooms, but the scientific part of it, Sue, I'm not that up to date on that.
I want to be clear. Are you strychnine? Is that what I used to call strychnine? Strychnine?
Tryptamine.
Tryptamine. Okay, I want to make sure because
Tryptamine. Tryptamine. It's in Turkey.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Then do you know what strychnine is? All I know is when I was in Jacksonville on break from being in spring break from North Carolina State, and we went out what they would call snake hunting. If anybody asks what you're doing with a bread bag out in a cow pasture, you know, kicking over the cow shit in the morning dew, and there's mushrooms, and you fill up your bag but then it'd be like, yeah, but hope it doesn't have strychnine. Well, and I knew nothing. It was sort of like they cut the cap out, the edge, but not the parts that they boil it. I mean, a turkey pot will a huge amount, and yeah, it was an amazing trip. You know, and I at that time in my life, it was perfect.
Using strychnine?
But they test. What they did, I didn't notice, is like with little 6-ounce cups or whatever, and you drink a couple out of the tea, and here, Jim, have some, and oh, hell yeah. And then we're playing cards, and I didn't notice nobody else had down theirs like me. They were sipping it. And then it's like 15 minutes later, so you're not getting any stomach cramps or anything, are you, Jim? Nah. And they started drinking, and then I'm like, get the hell out of here. I was the guinea pig. It was like, well, let's let Jim try it because I was the guest. And so when I heard this tryptamine or what you're talking about, I want to make sure.
Oh, tryptamine. Yeah, tryptamine is totally different from strychnine. Strychnine's poison.
But it was from what 50 years ago in Florida, and remembering it, and I could have strychnine. Yeah, that's like getting the words wrong in a song and giving it a whole different meaning for a lifetime, and then finding out, and it's embarrassing, you know. Yeah, I was wondering if this was one of these moments when I realized I'd been saying strychnine and there's no such thing. So I'm glad to hear there's a such thing anyway. You know?
Yeah, there is, and it's poisonous.
Yeah. But that was my psilocybin introduction, and it was just the right amount of. It wasn't hallucination, but it was just right next to it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where it'd be
because you got that phase, you know, before someone has a seizure, there's this phase that they go through, and they can hallucinate, you know, and whatnot, and then they seize, and then there's the postictal phase where they don't remember anything about what happened. So it's, you know, it's all pretty interesting, all these things.
Yeah, well, the more legal it gets to do things clinically and openly, and really get to the, you know, I like when I see something I think that's going more upwards than out to get there. You know, the whole traveling in a flat line to get something legal, and you find out. But it's the work that can be done openly, and to really find out as much as you can about these, because for me, the idea of advancing to a breakthrough in therapy, or a therapist having that advantage, and I have no idea how much time that cuts out of it, or you know, any of that, but that's the time constraints. I mean, if something takes you a year to deal with in your normal clinical setting, and you can make this like one jump over 4 months of that with that realization, and coming out of prison and a result of that, that's going to be an incredibly mind blower. Save the dollar there, man. I swear a lot.
And Jim, there's a company in Southwest Canada called Cybin, and they've been making serious developments. I've been following them since 2019, I think, and they're on the forefront when it comes to leading psilocybin and psilocin research, breaking it down, and they're in stage 5 of clinical trials for PTSD right now. So they are making headway. You know, our friends up there to the north, I'm going to keep an eye on them too. They keep getting grants. They're locking down patents, and they have been putting in serious work. So they might be something to look out for.
Yeah, well, that's really good to hear, you know. And, you know, you're always a good case in point about, you know, how post-traumatic stress can affect a person, and how when you learn to work with it in the ways, you know, that work, yeah, you're really a good case study to follow, you know. And then when you wrote A Bastard's Mind and you know, just did it, you know. I don't know, man. You're a very good good representation for what can be done, you know. Yeah.
Well, Jim, I want to get more involved. The past few years, like, they've been tough for me. I got away from cannabis, kind of like going out and about doing it so much. I just wanted to focus on myself a little bit because it had become so inflated to me, and the industry itself, the actual industry with, you know, your processors, your growers, and your dispensaries, the industry became overwhelmingly all about money. Just, I mean, like that. So I just kind of went away from the industry for a little bit. I went back to roots, you know, like we do. And I just kind of stayed away from it. But I've been watching it. And recently I've seen progress when it comes to prices coming down. So that's gotten me feeling better, feeling back involved. I've been talking to just more people. I've been getting more into the community, just seeing people again, Jim, because I just kind of disappeared. I was going through some personal stuff. You know, and it kind of went off the rails a little bit, but I really, you know, as long as everybody, if you guys are okay with it, I want to get more involved again. I want to get these people hearing what we have to say, because nobody is, you know, like you said, people are literally passing because of this.
Yeah.
Like, this is something, Jim, I've been listening to you since 2015, I think I've been listening to this over 11 years, Jim. And when I started this, I didn't know anything. And when I started following you, that's when I learned. That's how I learned what this is about. That's how I learned that this is medicine. That's how I learned how things work at the government level. And I want to just thank you for that, man, because you definitely changed the way that I go about this. And the truth is, I want to help patients.
You know what? You thanked me the moment I found out you wrote a book. No, you didn't just write it. You got the hard copies of it. I haven't got one. Oh, you know, hey, listen,
Thank you, Jim.
Jim, you did start to write a book, you know.
oh, I know. I started.
I still have the copies.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's the quickest sidebar on that would be real, and it involves Lefty, so it's a good point. I'm just got in touch with Chuck Thomas. We're talking the MPP. The people that were there, where Cheryl got arrested for eating a bud in the congressman's office. Yeah, but the story about it, that we showed up, had never met, and talked once on a quick call in here, and I hustled her to DC, and we in a room with 6-7 people we'd never met, including Dr. Dennis Petro, the leading researcher on cannabis, a neurologist, you know. and Eric Sterling, head of the Criminal Justice Policy Foundation, and Marco lawyers and all that, got us all together. And then by 11 o'clock the next day, we were both under arrest, and the congressman's office in the world was finding out about it, So like, I forget why I was saying that. It's really relevant though. It's okay. No, I hear sometimes I get lost in the actuality of, yes, it happened. Yes, I was there. Oh yeah. I realized I had somewhat of an epiphany that I really need to. I've missed a lot of deadlines in my life, and it's too late for most of them, but I haven't missed the deadline where all those people are still around and would come to a Zoom meeting or a StreamYard meeting like this, where all it would take would be about an hour and a half or 2 hours of us just talking about it and me talking about it and remembering how they remembered from what to do and finding out things we knew then. I mean, it would happen just like that. It would be really interesting. But that's the only way I'm ever going to write that out in book form, and I've already written it out. But without doing that, it's not believable. I have to tone down some shit. Nobody's, it can't be. It can't be. But when that is conversation, so-and-so said, so-and-so replied, it can be written from that, and then you don't believe it, read it and weep, yeah, it did happen. And it could be amazing only if it's backed up by that, actually going in tandem with it. One could read about it, and then after reading about it, they could watch all the people quoted talking about it, and you see all those quotes coming out, That's
Jim, all you have
Jim,
to
we
do
got to
is
get that published. I want to read this book.
It's possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, somebody's going to die, and somebody else is going. It's going. And then it's going to be gone forever because I didn't beat the drum. I didn't do that. And it's that possible. So anyway, I'm pretty sure most would if we could all do it at the same time, but we didn't have to do it at the same time. If there's 6 people, if we get 3 on one time and 3 on another time, there it is. It's the same amount of conversation and the same amount of quotes, and I know that works because there's a book, High in America. Carpenter was the last author's name, and it's about Keith Stroup and Normal, and it was written like 1980 or 81. It was like it was really covering the early years, but it was done just like that. There were quotes, and I know the people, a few of them. And it was fascinating because they're corroborated just by that conversation as opposed to one at a time dealing with people. And it wouldn't take much of their time, and they'd probably like to do it. And if they understood how really cool it could end up, I think it's doable. And anyway, Lefty and Sue pushed me to do things. So I'm more or less like putting the noose around my own thing, and okay, man, I mean, of course, you have regrets just not getting in touch with people a lot when they get, and things are lost. But not this. So anyway, me saying that now, see, that's how I'm my own therapist. It's like, yeah, all right, I just gave away my culpable deniability. Yeah, I can't say I didn't know how good it might have been. I just told you how good I know it could be. Now I have.
Listen, there's this book that just came out that my husband got. Okay, so there's a glare. Let me shut this light and see if you can see it.
I should.
Can you see it? This is what they're teaching physicians now. Okay, it's the 2nd edition. So there was a 1st edition. It really is a good book. So for anyone that really wants to do something, that's the book to get. About cannabis. It's got everything in it that you could probably want for now, anyway. Because things keep changing. We just published an article with the IGI, the scientific publications, and on the Cannabis Nurse Navigator role, and it took us about 10 years to do that.
Wow.
And finally got published. So, give yourself some grace too. You know, you've got a great story. You have a story to tell, and that story just can evolve right into the scientific aspects of it also, where that people can understand what you're driving at. And but you just have to do it. And it's time consuming and it's frustrating, but you can do it. You've got a great story.
Here, it's like 3 decades later, and I'm hearing about the myelin sheath. There is something you can do about it. This is that is right at the end of 3 decades of how cool it would have been, one, to know about it 3 decades ago, two, if the MS Society would have taken even a little interest in it.
They're interested in it now.
Oh, they are now, and I got to tell you what, I got a lot of resource still that I from the time with them. I mean, you've seen the picture of me pushing Cheryl up the front of the Cures Not Words parade with the MS Society's Dr. Ryan Gold is a medical cannabis liar or whatever, whichever sign Cheryl I had on her chair, but that was 1997.
Mm-hmm.
And what they could have done, being the largest research organization in the world on multiple sclerosis and raising the most money so others can study it, to refuse to even think about coming up with protocol for a study, that would be denied by the federal government. And we're not going to do that because they'll deny it. They sent me accidentally. They had all their MS chapters they sent because of me, how to handle questions about marijuana and spasticity from patients. In other words, they were warning me, here's how you deflect. They couldn't have been more inept to do that, by the way. That was like, I made sure they were embarrassed about it, But it could have been different. So now what I'm saying is it shouldn't be that long a road for the psilocybin, ibogaine, and all sorts of things, because it's already, it's sort of that parallel track. It's riding the draft of the cannabis fight. I mean, it wasn't about hallucinogenics back then very much. I mean, and LSD, if anything, though. But the answers are going to come in my lifetime, hopefully. Being 74, that's shrinking each year. But I like having that hope that I'm going to at least see it. Basically, because if I have one thing in my mind burned in that I can't get rid of, and it's been suggested to me that I have a form of post-traumatic stress. It didn't seem.
Of course you do.
It didn't seem trauma-like at the time. It wasn't watching a murder or killing somebody or whatever, But the thing is, it's going to happen for all of this event, and it's going to happen pretty quick. Too late for some, but the one thing I can never shake is the certainty that within a mile of here, almost wherever I am around me, there's somebody crying out in pain, and maybe it's somebody that has kids and it's scaring the kids and the wife has to handle it. It's going on, and it's people that couldn't afford it and they don't have it or whatever. And existential reality. That's what it is. It's I didn't realize that till the war with Iran, about what an existential experience means. In other words, it's when it's about your own life and way of living and the possibility of the total end to it. That reality. And I think for people who haven't felt that, it's the people that have felt it that are going to make it work, you know. So thank you to everybody that applies to that's here, you know, doing something about it. And Tony, I love your story. It's like as soon as you found out, and you went from going, really, you don't say, to in 2 years, you know, you didn't waste time, you know. I mean, I was a pot smoker long before I became an advocate, you know, and you know, it certainly wasn't that. But then there are those who, you know, it's an abrupt eye opener, and I don't know. You should be proud of yourself because a lot of
Yeah,
other
really,
people,
Tony.
you know?
We applaud you.
Hey, Jim,
Yeah,
you had mentioned earlier, and this is something that I think applies to both psilocybin and cannabis. You said, what is it that they don't want, right? So I just been taking a couple notes in the background to talk about this. So like if I was a legislator, what do I want to know? Is this safe? Is this practical? Will it create unintended consequences? Why is this better than doing nothing? Our proposal builds with these questions in mind. So safety, will this lead to uncontrolled home grows, right? Answer, no. This is limited to...
But will it lead to making me look bad? That's
Who?
No, the legislator. They got to ask.
Well, that's what
themselves,
Jim, this is what I'm going through right now. I'm trying to I have these notes right here, and
Okay.
this is going to answer this. So
No.
answer, no, the proposal is limited to registered cannabis patients, requires registration, limits cultivation, we'll say 8 plants, restricts cultivation to the patient's primary residence, requires a secure enclosed area, prohibits commercial activity. Affordability. Their concern, why not just use dispensaries? Because in their mind, that's where they're making their money. Answer, dispensaries remain an essential part of the program. Home cultivation is simply another option for patients who struggle with the cost of the long-term treatment. The proposal complements the existing system instead of replacing it. So they're worried about diversion. Will people grow cannabis and sell it illegally? Answer, the bill will prohibit the sale or transfer. It limits the number of plants. It requires registration. It ties cultivation to a single registered residence. So those safeguards reduce the risk of diversion and preserve access for legitimate patients. The big one is children.
Tommy, feed this into the equation. How would that be enforced? Because basically here in New Jersey, it's a problem of enforcement that I've heard about when I travel about the country talking to people in other states. I swear that guy had a ball to say when I travel about the country. He went to Colorado once. God damn it. Anyway.
Okay, say that again, Jim. What are their concerns? Their concerns are how does it make them? Because I'm going to answer these. How do they look bad?
Yeah.
What else?
Tag it on to what you were saying about, they were saying that it would be illegal to sell or whatever, you know. But how do you enforce that though? How would that be enforced?
This is Jim. This is one of those times, I think, when they have to, at this moment, give it back to the people. There's a niche crowd of medical patients who really want this. There has to be some way that we can lay some kind of trust onto the people doing this. Because never are humans going to be able to be trusted. No one's ever going to be able to take word from another human being. We have to give and take here somewhere.
We're losing focus of
so if this is making it, if this is building it up, then we have a chance.
We're losing focus over one thing. We're off on this trip, but where's the freaking car? Where's the keys? What we need is to have a bill heard in committee. Nothing else. I could retire from advocacy if that bill got heard in committee, because that would be the wheels rolling. Now, if somebody wants to stop it from being voted on, that's going to make him look bad. If the Senate president said he can stop a bill from being voted on, but he's stopping it from being heard in committee, depriving his Senate colleagues of their best source of pertinent and legitimate information, that goes both pro and con. People that are against it should want that information.
Losing you. This is good stuff. I need this. Jim, I can't.
Jim, your mic's muted.
It's all about getting it posted for a hearing. Nothing else matters. 100%. Fire all of your guns at once then. That's difficult. Come on.
Right. So I know you just said that about how they feel and why they're diverting it, but don't they have to listen to it at some point? Like, as you're right, as a human being living in New Jersey?
It's been 5.5 years. We started the second half of the first decade. You know, basically, it's not been heard in 2.17% of the time we've been a freaking country. 5 years, 4 months is 2.17% of 250. I'm just trying to put a relativity on it. That's a long time to be in pain. That's a long time to be going broke, buying it when you could be growing it. And it's also not the burden of proof on us. There's 24 states that have legalized cannabis. Only 4 have not also legalized home grow for patients when they did that. New Jersey is one. We are the outlier state. We are owed reasons for keeping this up rather than reasons for making it happen. But we need to get our own district legislators in on that, and we can do that through constituents. That's why I've written letters on behalf of constituents. I'm having conversations with as many as 5 legislators that all think I'm somebody else.
Yeah, they're not paying attention, right? So when we go through all of that with the letters, they're not listening. So how do we get them to listen?
Through their constituents. If they have a constituent, they have constituent cover to say to somebody behind the scenes, I got to do something about this. I got a constituent name, and they're being advised by a guy named Jim Miller. My constituent said, Google search Jim Miller, Jim Sherrill Miller, medical marijuana, New Jersey. And I did. And he's really fucking me over, pretending to be a constituent, and I can't do anything about it. Did you know I can't tell anybody what he wrote me? But he can put what I wrote him on a billboard. He's a bully. Yeah, I want to be that bully. But
what is the benefit? What is the benefit for the constituent to bring it in front of the senator?
Oh, it's always the benefit is it's somebody who has somebody that they need to take care of and they can't afford to. It's somebody that they need to get what they need to make oil with or have somebody make it with, but it's too expensive and they watch them die of cancer. You know, it's going on. This is what gets people involved. I mean, a lot of things do, but this is it. And constituents, some have been a great help to me. I got 3 Republican co-sponsors of the Home Grow bill, and I have access to them all. Well, actually, I had one moved, and now we have a friend, Chris, who is a constituent.
But they haven't gotten the bill heard. So it sounds like it's not a priority to them. It sounds like they heard you, but they're just like, this isn't a priority to us. This isn't going to help me further my career.
I got you on this, Tommy. These are Republicans, 3 Republicans. They've been in the minority party for 24 years. One duty of the minority party is to hold majority party leadership accountable. Be a check and balance on them. So when you have the leader, Senate President Scutari, and the leader in minority Coughlin, in the lower chamber, when you have them doing what they're doing, and you have 3 Republican co-sponsors, and all you're asking those 3 co-sponsors is you need to at least ask him to post it. He will say no. Then you tell me that you asked him to post it and he said no, and I'll need that in an email. That should be very easy, shouldn't it? But they're not responding to that. And I know that because I'm the one asking them as 3 different people. Oh, no, it's 2 people with that, But also,
Jim, I don't know about constituents.
What I mean is, Tommy,
do constituents is that a job? I don't know about constituents versus advocates versus PACs. I don't know how a constituent works.
Every legislator has a district they're responsible for. The state's divided up. We have 40 districts, 20 districts, right? 40. That's embarrassing. Everybody, the people in those districts, they're the local concern. They are their constituents. This is referred to as the district is that legislator's constituency. So basically, you have to talk to your constituents.
So they're basically whipping boys that don't care.
Yeah,
They're just
no,
they just get paid to interface and not actually do anything.
Well, ignoring your constituents is something that gets done all the time. Having proof, not often. This right here, see this? This is a woman named Susan. This is letters to her legislator that I wrote. Her problem was she was in an accident in the van with her mom when she was 19. The van rolled, her mom was thrown and killed, and she was hurt really, really bad and on pain management, including opiates. For 29 years, she weaned herself off of the opiates by using RSO. And it took a year, and she did it. And she was opiate free for 19 months. They bought, okay, so I should have done this. There we go.
We can't read it.
I know. I'm just trying to see how dramatically.
Right. So, but if I was the legislator and I saw all that, why would I be inclined to read it?
There's
Why
all,
would I, as the constituent, be like, why am I going to read this right now?
well, because a reporter is going to say, "Did you really say this?" That's what you got to do. You got to get it to be somebody that they want to answer. And trust me, when they're out to be reelected, they're like shooting turkeys, man. All you got to do is go, gobble, gobble, gobble. And they're there. And you show up. And, you know, it doesn't always work. But I'll tell you, if you do it 50 times, you're going to have 7, 8, 9, 10 scores, you know.
Tony, how is the political climate down by you in you know, in the same way that we're talking about Jersey right now?
Yeah, yeah, they don't. My legislators don't really even answer my emails back, and I don't have a relationship with them as far as trying to get bills in or Louisiana. You know, we're not a ballot initiative state. The only way a bill can get introduced is the legislator, and like y'all's bill with the home grow, they can leave it sitting. The Speaker of the House can leave it sitting there and not send it to the committee, and it just dies right there. Or they'll pass, like they passed the home grow one year out of the health and welfare last year, and it died on the House floor. It didn't get the vote on that. Didn't bring it up to vote on the House floor. So there's different ways they can kill bills, but no, we're majority Republican states. The Republicans outnumber the Democrats, and the psychedelics, the Republicans are behind that. They want to.
Yeah, the psychedelics. Yeah, they're behind that here too.
Yeah. Our cannabis program, there's 2 growers. The only reason we have 2 growers is because monopoly is illegal in America. So we got a duopoly. We got 2 growers, and our cannabis is $60, $65 an eighth. So I mean, usually the lower, the marginalized population buy the smaller amounts because it's cheaper, but then they end up paying $400 or $500 an ounce. If they'd have bought the ounce for $150, but yeah, the politicians are in. We have one state representative, Representative Paula Davis, who's married to the CEO of Good Day Farms, who's one of the growers. And then one of the guys, Representative McGee, his wife worked for that company. They're the ones that push through our program, and we got one of the worst programs in the nation. The pharmacist, Senator Mills, who wrote our bill, medical cannabis bill, was a pharmacist. He owned several pharmacies, so he made it where you have to be a pharmacist to own a dispensary. And so they got like some dispensaries. They have 5 pharmacists that own it, so they all work 1 day a week, drawing the pharmacist's pay. And then the patient ends up paying for it. We're paying double with Mississippi. What Good Day? I filed a report with the Attorney General because I bought an eighth of cannabis for $50 in Louisiana, and it was like 40 in Arkansas. The same brand, cream cake jealousy or something at Good Day Farm and Jennings dispensary. I got online. I said, "Oh, what's a Good Day Farm selling there? But banana cake jealousy in Arkansas. And every Arkansas, Missouri, Mississippi were all cheaper than Louisiana. And it's like, well, there's no incentive for them to lower prices here because there's no competition.
Yeah.
But
And
anyway,
nobody's making any
politicians.
noise, right?
Pardon
Nobody's
me?
really making any noise either.
Oh yeah, I mean, they made noise, but it just, yeah, they just monopolized. They gave 10 licenses for dispensaries to pharmacists and that, and then they came back a couple of years later. Well, we're going to let them open 2 more. Each of those 10 is going to open 2 more dispensaries, and so they just keep it really tight instead of opening the market, letting craft farmers grow. Because what happens, we go to the dispensary and say you have epilepsy and you have a certain strain that helps your epilepsy. When you go one time they have it, the next time they don't. It's like, but a craft farmer can grow what you need, or a home grow program, you can grow the strains that help you, and you have access to medicine that helps you. And the way they have it set up here, it's not like that.
Yeah, the way things sound in Louisiana, I think you outdid New Jersey, and that's saying something. And we want this, our slice of the pie of everything. Doesn't matter what it is, and you get somebody from New Jersey to go, wow, about your situation. That's saying something. I hate to hear it, but
what you just mentioned about what the pharmacists want, about dispensaries being owned and run by pharmacists. Is that what that's how you said it, right? Okay. So what I've been hearing is that's a little bit and a lot of bit of the fear of this whole rescheduling campaign that's going on right now, because if you read between the lines, that's exactly what it's saying. Once you put something into the DEA scheduling, then there's it's got to go through the pharmacists, it's got to go through the physicians, it's got to go through the various different organizations that subsidize hospitals for Medicaid and Medicare funding, and they don't want to do it. They don't want to do it. It's risky for them, because what the concern mostly is about, it's about funding. It's always about money, and if you don't follow what the law says or what the regs say in your particular state, because if we read correctly, what's being proposed is that, okay, so the FDA and medically approved cannabis, what was I just going to say? I just lost my thought. So that would be a Schedule 3. So now what they're discussing is, well, what about the rest of cannabis? What are we doing with the rest of it? Okay, because Donald Trump already said, well, the other stuff could be, Schedule 3. Well, you know what? A Schedule 3, anything requires a prescription. And who fills the prescription? The pharmacist. And who knows more about the drug than you do? The pharmacist does. And I'm not taking away anybody's, knowledge, because I consider myself to be pretty knowledgeable. But I would listen to what a pharmacist had to say when he breaks down something to me, because they're honest. They don't have anything to gain from it. They don't care if you go to another pharmacy, go, but, sometimes they're your best resource. So that is the fear about this proposal, because that's where it would go. It would go back to being super regulated. So what are we doing here? What are we seeing? Are we seeing anything that really makes any sense? Is this conducive?
Well, I think it boils down to, we're going to find something out. I mean, if it stayed the same as it is now, that would suck. But what you're saying is valid because you always want to risk benefit everything. I mean, you know, when you break it down, you just learn things sometimes. And the thing that I add to it is how quick, I'm afraid it would take forever for the next change, but it just seems like
that's a given.
they could build in planning like a cleanup bill. It's like passing a bill saying, we know we're going to have a cleanup bill the next session. We've already written one because there's a couple things we'd like to pass into law now that are already in. And that's the way to get something passed sometimes, that thing. But this is not about getting anything passed. This is going to get done one way or the other, and with an appearance of input at least, but it's not how it works out. I mean, I would assume the decision's already made probably, I would guess. And it's just the way it plays out. It elongates, and maybe I don't know who that works for, but it could be that stepping stone. For I didn't like when we got the law passed in New Jersey, and it got forced into the end of that session through the assembly saying no to home grow provision. You want to proceed to pass the law without the home grow provision that Nixon got passed in the Senate by a vote of 1 6 plants got
What
passed.
is that static? Because you're breaking up.
Yeah, and then what is Schedule 3 do for the average person? I mean, it's going to get the banking. Is it the
Doesn't
right
do
to
anything.
do the banking? It's going to do the big farmers going to be able to come in and separate the molecules and make a synthetic drug with it. But the average person, we're not protecting home, grow. We're not doing employment protection, parental protection, education protection. I mean, expungements. They've got a whole list of things. For 50 years, we've been getting pelted by this drug war. And then now they're talking about Schedule 3. Like, it's still going to continue. The drug war is still going to continue. We're still going to have the arrests for Schedule 3. And it's not going to really do anything.
It's the evil politics, like you said, Sue. You were mentioning the politics. You said how the money controls everything. That's what happened here in Maryland. I got out of the industry maybe 4 years ago. I was working in the industry, working at, talking to different politicians and stuff about the home grow. And I started seeing more and more people at upper levels just totally forgetting about doing anything for the patients as they started. When this program started, people had the whole hype. Oh, yeah, let's help patients. That went away. Within 3 years, it only became about money. And when I heard people that I respected look me in the eyes and tell me that I should not advocate for home grow because it could make people sick if they grow at home and they get mold in their weed. We don't want people doing that. We don't want to have to worry about them. And that was it for me. I was like, all right, I have no faith in any of you. You have all either lied to me the entire time or fell to the evil dollar. But basically,
okay. Hold that
I don't want anything.
I got to let my grandson in. Hold on.
Yeah. Well,
that's why I went back to the street completely. Like, I went back to my plugs. I was like, hey, I didn't leave you guys, to be like rude or anything. I always bought from the street here and there just to stay in touch. But, after that, I was just like, I can't buy at these places anymore. I can't support this shit. Excuse my language. It's just garbage.
We got to add a little more factor into what we know and what we can tell people. Will it have any possible effect at all? And so, like, recognizing all the problems is one thing, and that's hard to even do sometimes. But to do that without being able to do anything, like if they're having these hearings now in Washington where people aren't going to be speaking in favor of things we want them to speak in favor of, even though people will be, that I understand they've been kind of kept out of it. I don't know. I mean,
they have been kept out of it.
So, totally. But that's what I'm basing my thought pattern on. And the thing is that just shows how little whatever we come up with, and no matter how fervently we know this and believe it and want to make sure they know it, it's not going to have a 0.00 to all infinity effect on them. It does. We need that foundation, but we also need, I guess, people more like me who are going to be laser focused on like what's right up right up front. I mean, so it all needs to be done. People need to really make sure we know all the possibilities and the risk benefit thing that we can. And but in the end, if that's taken any time of mine away from the focus point on this blockade, I mean, I feel like I got a magnifying glass focused on something that's going to take like years to burn through, but I got to keep it focused, if I go away and start doing anything else. So I've become rather conflicted, and trying to be able to put my efforts into something that could have 0.001% of an effect.
But you see what happened. You see what happened with you, and I'm going to use you as an example. Okay, this affected you personally, right? Because you could have just been a happy little hippie running around smoking your weed, and you know what? They can do whatever they want because that's what we could do. Okay.
Yeah, that's where I was headed.
Unless this affects one of those people in power, personally, then it gets attention. Other than that, it's not going to, because they do what they want anyway. Scutari was giving his mother weed, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, no, she was a registered patient in the program.
Okay.
Apparently, she could afford it. He could afford it. It wasn't the issue whether or not she could afford it. But again, and as I've posted moderately eloquently, he can disregard that somehow. But that's why I'm making it more public, because this is public information. And it's not like we found out. He's used that as an example of something here and there himself. He's opened that door more than once.
Right.
So with me saying that he does know better, when he just doesn't care. We can say that all we want, but this leads to something that's right next to proof. He doesn't care. And, he's looking ahead to being the next governor after our current governor. I swear everything fits that. This is where his power is, in New Jersey. He's not looking out for New Jersey. He's not taking part in it. And he started the rumor.
Guys, it's really broken up. I can't hear a word you're saying.
Yeah. He's saying, he's actually saying, some people, they call me the godfather of cannabis in New Jersey. Nobody calls him that.
I never heard that.
He has said that before in the public on Spotlight News New Jersey.
I mean, I believe you, but I live in Bergen County. This is like a vocal county to live in.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, he better be careful, because one could agree. You know what? There was a time when you were not just the godfather of medical cannabis, you were dying patients' hero. You gave patients, even as they died, hope that, something could be done.
Somebody else could be saved. Yeah.
You got home grow passed in the Senate. You were the man. And then you disappeared, kind of like the Blue Angels doing something, and one disappears and comes up behind you. Whoosh! And that was him, stabbing patients in the back, not letting this bill even be heard. I mean, that's amazing. That's storybook shit right there. That's Greek tragedy stuff. But you know how those things end, and it might not end well for him. It might be that he can be negotiated with too, but he can't be negotiated with how it will help him. The only way to negotiate with him is, what does he have to lose if he doesn't acquiesce to a discussion? And I've been known to get around that hill. It takes lining a lot of ducks up in a row if it's important. And unlike when I went off on a whim with Cheryl to get arrested in Washington, this is opposite of that. This is something that there are the right pieces to the puzzle. So, but you know what that's like.
Yes.
This has been a real roller coaster ride for me here. I felt bad about things. I found out some really incidental information. I mean, the things I never thought of from certain directions, like, hey, what if somebody's getting out of prison after, say, 10 years? What would it be like if he had access to a therapy in between that used psilocybin? Wow. I think that might be one of the easier, best uses. I mean, I could, all the pieces of the puzzle are there. in many cases, a want to get better, you know? Yeah, shorten that trip if we can. So anyway, yeah, this has been a good, I've had a good time. I mean, my object is to have a good time, learn something, and not spoil it for anybody else in the process. That's a tough juggle when you add that third ball with me. I don't know. See, I got self-awareness. I'm the therapist talking right now.
Okay. Lefty will be billing you tomorrow.
Podcast tomorrow at the State House. Are we live on YouTube tomorrow, Lefty, or no? You're muted.
You're muted, Lefty.
We'll be live tomorrow on Sue's Hotspot. Thank you, Sue.
Oh, will we? Yeah, Tony, you can. Well, it's tomorrow is July 10th, 7/10. Upside down, that's spelled oil. It's oil day, and Lefty has protected the cannabis patients' right to their own day. Legalization, adult. That's 4/20. All right, 7/10. So oil. It's like really one of the most common, best ways that patients.
7/10 is Cannabis Patient Awareness Day.
Yeah, I like that. Y'all go to the post office too and do. I heard you mention it on one of the
I'm
podcasts.
telling you, that's one of the ducks that have to be lined up in the row. Hypothetically, if somebody said, Jim, why the hell did you do that? I got to have a George Carlin-like list of things that didn't work, you know, and one of them is like, well, going to the post office because that's where constituents are, to try to poison the well in his town, you know, let people know who he is and maybe find some help. That didn't work. Had a petition, not just a petition to get a bill passed, a petition for him to get out of the way of it being heard and why. That's what last year now, you know, in other words, but the George Carlin version is a petition or this or that, you know. So anyway, yeah, there's.
Can you do that again?
Oh, I got to see the replay. Them hands were flying, weren't they? I didn't see that.
Johnny just mimicked
Lefty.
you.
I'm over here in Lefty. Shit, now she was gonna sit in my hand.
Sue, do you see like the nurses getting their license back on now that cannabis is proven to be a medicine? Like if you had a nursing license, you lost your license because of cannabis use. Do you see maybe that they might do that one day and say, oh, look, by the way, all the nurses.
They don't lose their license for that. They lose their license for stealing narcotics.
No, the cannabis, like I know a nurse in Louisiana that lost her license because she popped positive on a cannabis test, you know.
They don't do that here.
Not narcotics.
No, they don't do that here. No,
they don't remove y'all's license for cannabis? Oh.
No.
Well, in Louisiana they did. They still do, I think.
Yeah, Louisiana is kind of like another country, like, you know.
It is in every aspect. When I was in the Navy, I stayed going up in Washington for 3 years, and I remember when I came back, I was like, wow. And I grew up here, but it was like, wow, man, this is really like a different country here.
Yeah.
Well, we're taking Ratari out tomorrow then. That's it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, man.
Tony, do you want to call in tomorrow?
Sure.
To the,
wait. No, look. There's a Gulf South Mycological Society is having their summer foray. It's 3 days up in a big national forest up in Alexandria, and I'm signed up to go to that tomorrow. So I'm gonna be on the road.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I catch the replay.
You have an invite.
I would though. I would definitely do that because I watched the one with the Rattori thing. I thought that was really
Yeah.
I mean,
You get to meet him tomorrow.
you know, it got me I was listening to it on my way to visit my mom. She lives about 45 minutes away, and I had it on my truck. I wasn't watching it. I was just listening to it. And I heard every now and then when Santori's name would be pronounced, and I heard like that. I was like, what the heck's going on? What's that noise? You know? And it took me like listening all the way back. And then when I got home, I watched the video and I saw Lefty hitting the button and making that noise. Like, was it like a gagging noise when they say
Yeah. Great Wayne Rooney. Yeah.
I was like, oh man, that's funny.
You eat it.
Yeah, that was Wayne. That was Wayne going, "Puh."
Like, what is that noise?
We do have
You eat it.
I had to see if somebody was actually doing that in real life. When I had to come back home and open the YouTube up and watch y'all.
Okay, I'm going to be leaving you, gentlemen, because I have people to take care of here.
This
Yeah.
concludes
I have to
our
drive to Trenton tomorrow.
podcast.
I have
This
to drive to Trenton
concludes-
tomorrow, and it's a 2.5 hour ride for me. So
Nice.
just be
Oh.
watching.
All right, guys.
All right.
Thank you, CMMNJ, UFCW, Arlo Glass, Open Machine,
Well,
and
thank you for having me on, Sue.
Oh,
and,
thank you,
for all
Tony.
your
thank you,
work
Tony.
Our
with the
pleasure.
Nurse Cannabis Association. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have our list here. Our list begins with Cheryl, Sabina,
Lefty, I can't hear it. Is your mic's on?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go.
Oh, yeah, and this is a list of people who passed before being in the light at the end of the tunnel of this whole cannabis legalization. Everybody gets to use the trip. So anyway, we mentioned their names. World Trade Center style on September 11th. Ring a bell in between, just so their name was heard that week.
I'll mute everybody so we can hear. Hold on.
Please do. Thank you.
Cheryl, Sabina, Diane, Gracie, Cindy Mae, Marie, Jack, Joan, Randy, Holly, Bill, Chad, Jeremy, Colette, Matt, Troy, Russ, Roger, Jay, Ella, Hattie, Jackie, Anthony, Jake, Armando, Felicia, Lynn, Dan, Sean, Joyce, Lori, Frank, Brian, Flo, Carl, Thorne, Frank, Lorraine, Terry, Charlotte, Cher, Jaybird, Michael, Marley, Colette, Brendan, Red, Rico, Lou, Becky, Lawanda, Chip, Paul, Lisa, Marcus, Gary, Julia, Wayne, Waxy, Joe Marie, Paul, Jeff,
This concludes our podcast.
This concludes our podcast. You want to try it? Tony, you want to try it? I think you're muted. Hold on. Okay, Tony, go ahead. Try. You try it. This concludes our podcast.
He was a big man, Wayne Barini. He had that radio voice of radio voices. I don't do this.
Baritone voice.
Johnny's done the best, really, I think, so far. But this concludes our podcast.
Nah, you're going to get gonged.
Yeah, but does that mean Lin Jean gonna be the dancing machine with me?
Mhm. Yes.
Can I do that? I love that show. Chuck Barris, he was the man.
That was a fun show.
It was.
Okay, good night, everybody. I will see you guys whenever I get there tomorrow.
Okay,
Okay.
good night, everybody. They shall grow
Pray
out
for no
old,
traffic for me.
as we that are left grow old.
Safe travel.
Shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will
We will remember them.
Thank you.